Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalla Bhagavaradari Gopi Janavalla Bhagavaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jamuna Tiravana Chari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Janavalla Bhagavaradari Gopi Janavalla Bhagavaradari Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yashodanandana Brajajanaranjana Yamuna Tiravanachari Yamuna Tiravanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astutar Sutta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhai Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astutar Sutta Sri Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Thakur Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. Shri Shri Jagannath Baladev Subhadra Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Giridhari Ji Ki Jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories, all glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Shri Guru, Shri Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Shmati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gaurvani Pacharne. Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschardeshtane.
I've just been trying to end by like 8:30 because of the marathon.
Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 3, chapters entitled Yamarāja Instructs His Messengers. Text number 26. Yes. Evam vimrimsha shudino bhagavatyante. Evam vimrishya sudiyo bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalo bhava yogam. Sarvatmana vidadate kalu bhavu yogam. Te me nadam arhantya atadyadam misham. Te me nadam arhantyata yadyamisham. Syat patakam tad apihantya urgaya vadaha. Syat patakam tad apihantya urgaya vadaha. Evam rajishya sudino Bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalu bhava yogam. Te me nadandam arhantyata yadyamisham. Syat patakam tad apihantyurugaya vadaha. Evam vimrimsha sudino bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidhadate kalubhava yogam. Te me nadandam arhantya atayadamisham. Syat patakam tadapi hantyurugaya vadaha. Please chant. Evam mimrimsha sudino bhagavantyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalubhava yogam. Te me nadandam arhantyata yadyamisham. Syat pantakam tadapi hantyurugaya vadaha. Evam mimrimsha sudiyo bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalubhava yogam. Te me tadandam arhantyata yadyamisham. Syat patakam tadapi hantyurugaya vadaha. Evam mimrimsha sudiyo bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalubhava yogam. Te me dadanda. Evam mimrimsha sudiyo bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalubhava yogam. Te me nadandam arhantyata yadyamisham. Syat padakam tadapi hantyurugaya vadaha. Vaishnavis. Evam mimrimsha sudiyo bhagavatyanante. Sarvatmana vidadate kalubhava yogam. Te me nadandam arhantyata yadyamisham. Syat patakam tadapi hantyurugaya vadaha. Evam, thus, vimshya, considering, sudiyaha, those whose intelligence is sharp, Bhagavati, unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Anante, the unlimited. sarva atmana, with all their heart and soul. Vididhate, take to, kalo, indeed. Bhava-yogam, the process of devotional service. Te, such persons. Me, my. Na, not. Dandam, punishment. Arhati, deserve. Ata, therefore. Yadi, if. Amisham, of them. Syat, there is. Patakam, some sinful activity. Tat, that. Api, also. Hanti, destroys. Urugaya vadaha, the chanting of the holy name of the Supreme Lord. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Bhai Charnarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Considering all these points, therefore, intelligent men decide to solve all problems by adopting the devotional service of chanting the holy name of the Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart and who is a mine of all auspicious qualities. Such persons are not within my jurisdiction for punishment. Generally, they never commit sinful activities, but even if by mistake or because of bewilderment or illusion, they sometimes commit sinful acts. They are protected from sinful reactions because they always chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Purport. In this regard, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes the following verse from the prayers of Lord Brahma, Srimad Bhagavatam 10:14-29. Atapi te deva padambuja dvaya prasada leshanu grihita evahi janati tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanya ekopi chiram vichinvan. The purport is that even though one is a very learned scholar of the Vedic Shastras, he may be completely unaware of the existence of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and His name, fame, qualities, and so forth. Whereas one who is not a great scholar can understand the position of the Supreme Personality of Godhead if he somehow or other becomes a pure devotee of the Lord by engaging in devotional service. Therefore, this verse spoken by Yamarāja says, Evam vimrishya sudhyo bhagavati. Those who engage in the loving service of the Lord become sudhiyaha, intelligent. But this is not so of a Vedic scholar who does not understand Krishna's name, fame, and qualities. A pure devotee is one whose intelligence is clear. He is truly thoughtful because he engages in the service of the Lord, not as a matter of show, but with love, with his mind, words, and body. Non-devotees may make a show of religion, but it is not very effective because although they ostentatiously attend a temple or church, they are thinking of something else. Such persons are neglecting their religious duty and are punishable by Yamaraja. But a devotee who commits sinful acts, which he may do unwillingly or accidentally because of his former habits, is excused. That is the value of the saṅkīrtana movement. Evam vimrishya sudiyo bhagavatyanante sarvat mamana vidadhati kalo bhava yogam te mena dandamaharayant arhantyata yadyami sham syat patakam tadapihantyurgaya vadaha. Om Jnana Tamandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Caitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Vancha kalpatrubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam bhavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. It was my great fortune to be here this morning in Sri Sri Radhagiri Dhari Mandir, ISKCON San Diego. Thank you all for having me. And before I begin to speak, I seek the blessings of all the devotees that are present here today, especially His Holiness Bhadri Narayan Swami Maharaj, who's always been a very caring mentor for me, Dravida Prabhu, and Vijay Prabhu, and all the wonderful devotees assembled here today. Thank you so much. Please give me your blessings so that I can speak for my own purification. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So this section of Srimad Bhagavatam, we're reading Canto 6, Chapter 3, chapters entitled Yamarāja Instructs His Messengers. Text number 26 today. So Shukadeva Goswami is explaining to us this discussion, this samvad between Yamarāja and the Yamadutas. The Yamadutas had gone to collect the soul of Ajamil, who had performed many sinful activities. But upon the moment of getting ready to leave his body, when the Yamadutas were ready to pounce upon him and drag his soul out of the body for hellish planets and meeting with Yamarāja and punishments, at that time he cried out the name of his youngest son, Narayana, Narayana. And at that time the Vishnu Dutas arrived. And their beautiful four-handed forms with smiling faces and powerful bodies, they forbid the Yamadutas from touching Ajamil. And he was able to thwart his immediate visit to the hellish planets. He had his flight ticket was canceled. He did not go to the hellish planets. So the Yamadutas were very frustrated. So they went back to Yamarāja to find out what had happened. They had never been thwarted in their attempts previously. And now in this section of Bhagavatam, Yamarāja is explaining to the Yamadutas why Ajamil is not a fit candidate to travel to the hellish planets. And that the answer is that he had performed devotional service, and especially he had chanted the holy name of the Lord, Narayana, which even if chanted unconsciously, can destroy all sinful reactions. It's mentioned in the first canto, in the first chapter, 14th verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Apana samsmritim goram yanama vivashogranan tato sadyo vimucheta yad bibeti svayam bhayam. That apana samsmritim goram, that being entangled, apana samsmritim, in this samsar, in this constant cycle of birth and death, in this material entanglement, which is goram. Goram means very, very difficult to extract oneself from. Very, very problematic. Yanama vivashogranan. If one accepts the name of Krishna, that absolute name, vivasho, even unconsciously, if one even unconsciously granan accepts it, like if we're under complete anesthesia, we're totally unconscious, but if we manage to chant the holy name, then granan, if we accept it, then apana samsmritim goram yanama vivasho granan tata sadyo vimucheta, then one becomes vimucheta, one becomes freed from his sinful reactions. Apana samsmritim goram yanama vivasho granan tata sadyo vimucheta yad bibeti svayam bhayam. The swayam bhayam means the personification of fear. Fear personified is bibeti, is afraid of this holy name of the Lord. So this holy name of the Lord is so powerful, even if just once chanted unconsciously, without intending to chant, like Ajamil had chanted. He had not said, oh, the Yamadutas are here, I have to destroy my sinful reactions. Let me chant the holy names of the Lord. I'm remembering that first canto, first chapter, 14th verse. I can destroy my sins. No, that was not his consciousness. Just unconsciously, he chanted, Narayana, Narayana. And then his sins were vanquished, and he became qualified to become free from the clutches of the Yamadutas. So Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Abhyasa yogena tato, that we should practice devotional service, so that at the final exam in our life, what's the final exam? It's the time of death. At the time of death, we should be ready to chant the holy names, like Ajamil was unconsciously, even unconsciously. So we have to constantly practice. Therefore, this daily sadhana of chanting, fixed number of rounds, engaging in kirtan, kirtaniya sadahari, chanting as much as possible, filling our lives with the chanting of the holy names, is an important preparation for the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavan, chantante ante kalevaram, tam tam evati konteya, sadhatad bhava bhavataha. Krishna explains whatever we remember at the time of death, that we will obtain without fail. One time I was in Pune, Maharashtra, and I was invited for a preaching program with all the temple devotees. They were going by bus. The bus was packed. Some devotees were going with my Guru Maharaj in a car, but there wasn't room for me. But one devotee said, I have a bike, I have a motorcycle, come with me. So I said, okay. So we're on the bike, we're riding on the highway, these small bikes, all of a sudden puncture, and the bike started bouncing around. I said, Krishna! And then luckily we were saved. But I was very happy because there was a close call, and I was able to chant Krishna's name which could have been the time of death. So we should always be ready, like on a hair trigger. Have you heard the expression hair trigger? That's like when the gun is like easily ready to go off. Yeah. So we should be ready on a hair trigger at any moment to just immediately chant the holy name. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. So at the time of death, we're prepared for that. So it's a very wonderful section. And then Yamarāja is getting into his instructions here to his Yamadutas, and soon he's going to give a very important instruction. Tasmad saṅkīrtanan Vishnur. What is it? Jagad mangalam amhasam mahatam apikoravya vidyai kantika niskritam. Therefore, engage in this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Tasmad saṅkīrtanam Vishnur. Chant the names of Vishnu, chant the names of Krishna. Do this saṅkīrtan. Jagad mangalam amhasam. Jagad means universe, and mangalam means auspicious. So the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the most auspicious thing in the entire universe. Just like Jagad Mangalam, Jagannath. We have Jagannath here. Jagad means the universe, and Nath means the Lord of the universe. So we worship here Jagannath, the Lord of the universe, with Jagad Mangalam, with the most auspicious thing in the entire universe. Jagad Mangalam Amhasam Mahatam, that even if there's the greatest pop, the greatest sin, Mahatam Apikorhavya Vidyai Kantika Niskritam, the greatest sin is vanquished by the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So this full-on chanting is so important. It's such an integral part of our lives as ISKCON devotees. It's a core practice, and this is the reason, because we have to be ready on a hair trigger at the time of death to chant the holy names. And even unconsciously, we chant these holy names. It has effect. Ajamil, he did not chant on purpose to eradicate his sin. And it's actually good, because it's an offense against the holy name to chant with the intention of being relieved of sin, performing sinful activities on the strength of chanting the holy names. So we should not be cheaters and think, I'll perform sinful activity and then just chant to eradicate those activities. We should be honest. We should strive to become free from those sinful propensities and engage in this chanting. So how to become free from those sinful propensities? It's not by charity, it's not by yajna, it's not by yoga, it's not by tapasya. It's by engaging in devotional service. By engaging in devotional service, bhaktyamam abhijananti yavanyaschasmi tattvataha tatomam tattvato jnatva vishate tadanantaram. By engaging in bhakti, we can know Krishna in truth, tattvataha. And when one knows Krishna in truth, he doesn't come back to this material world, but he can go back to the spiritual world, anantaram. So this is so important to engage in the processes of bhakti. Shravanam, kirtanam, Vishnu smaranam, pada sevanam, archanam, vandanam, dasyam, sakyam, atmani vedanam. Yamarāja is saying today that intelligent men decide to solve all problems by adopting the devotional service of chanting the holy name of the Lord. So this word is stressed today, sudhiya, vidya. Diya means intelligence. Sudhiyo, diyaha means intelligence. That's mentioned in the verse today. Evam vimrishya sudhiyo bhagavatyanante. That sudhiyaha, those whose intelligence is sharp. So intelligence is very, very important to cultivate, because if we can have sharp intelligence, we can engage in the chanting of the holy names. And one who chants, that's a sign, that's a symptom of intelligence. Krishna varnam tvisha krishnam sango pangastra parshadam yagnai saṅkīrtana prayer yajanti hi sumedasaha. That a person in this age of Kali, Krishna varnam tvisha krishnam, he's worshipping Sri Krishna Caitanya Mahaprabhu, the golden avatar. He's not blackish, he's golden. Sango Pangastra Parshadam. He comes with his associates. He comes with his weapons, like his beauty, his holy name. Yagnai saṅkīrtana prayer. A person who has these qualities, he engages in the saṅkīrtana movement. Lord Chaitanya is worshipped by the saṅkīrtana yajna. Yajanti hi sumedasaha. Such a person is sumedasaha. Medasaha means intelligence, and the prefix su means very much. Very much. Superman! It's like super intelligence. So sumedasaha. So this is the quality of a person who's engaged in this chanting. Yamarāja continues. He talks about the Lord. He says he's situated in everyone's heart, sarvasya chahamriti sanivastaha, and he's a mine of all auspicious qualities. Krishna has 64 wonderful auspicious qualities. Yamarāja says, such persons are not within my jurisdiction for punishment. So those who chant, they're not within Yamaraja's sphere of influence. Generally, they never commit sinful activities. Those who chant or engaged in chanting, usually they don't perform sinful activities. But even if by mistake or because of bewilderment or illusion, they sometimes commit sinful acts. So sometimes devotees, they get bewildered or they make some mistake and they may engage in some sinful acts. But they're protected from sinful reactions. Why? Because they always chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Kirtanaya Sadahari. So again, the call is there to constantly chant. We never know when we'll make some mistake. We never know when we'll be subject to illusion. we never know if we'll become bewildered. Devyesha gunamayi mama maya dhrataya mam eva ye prapadyante maya metantarantite. This material energy is so powerful. At any moment we can be washed away by the tsunami of Maya, helplessly. We're just tiny little jivas. It can happen to any of us. So therefore, it's so important that we're just constantly chanting, because only this chanting can save us. Prabhupada mentions in the purport today, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's quoting from the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this verse, I'll just read the translation. We read the Sanskrit. The translation of this verse quoted by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is as follows. My Lord, if one is favored by even a slight trace of the mercy of your lotus feet, he can understand the greatness of your personality. But those who speculate to understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead are unable to know you, even though they continue to study the Vedas for many years. So it's bhakti mama vijananti. It's by bhakti that one can understand the Supreme Lord, not by any kind of speculation. So bhakti is so much important. It's interesting, Prabhupada writes in the purport, non-devotees may make a show of religion, but it is not very effective, because although they ostentatiously attend a temple or church, they're thinking of something else. I have this experience also sometimes when I'm chanting my japa, sitting in the temple room, that my mind is going all over the planet. My mind is going everywhere. So I'm also guilty of ostentatiously sitting in the temple while the mind is somewhere else. Does anyone else have this experience sometimes? Yeah. Never. Okay, good. Good. That's why we're here. Prabhupada's given us ISKCON. We can associate with sadhus and advance in devotional service. Wonderful. Birds of a feather flock together. We get this nice sangha, we can advance together. So, yeah, we should be aware of this when we're sitting in Bhagavatam class, when we're sitting and chanting on japa, when we're in the kirtan. We should keep our minds focused on the here and now, the holy names, the Bhagavatam, our different aspects of devotional service, prasadam, and honoring prasadam very nicely, and deep meditation, and all aspects, our deity worship. We should be very focused and get the maximum benefit. Because Prabhupada says such persons are neglecting their religious duty and are punishable by Yamarāja. So even though we may be sitting and in the right place in the right time and appear to be doing the right thing, if our mind is somewhere else, especially maybe contemplating sinful activities, then that is not very pleasing to Yamarāja, and we may be called to task on that. But a devotee who commits sinful acts, which he may do unwillingly or accidentally because of his former habits, is excused. So api chetsu daracharo bhajate mam anandibak sador eva samantavya samyagvya vasito hisaha. That even if a devotee does the most horrible thing, sudaracharo, if he's properly situated in his determination, he's considered saintly. That is the value of the saṅkīrtana movement. It's interesting, Prabhupada says that is the value of the saṅkīrtana movement. Of course, the value of saṅkīrtana movement is very, very vast. By saṅkīrtana, we can cultivate love for Krishna and advance so much. But yeah, it also protects us from sinful reactions. It's amazing. Because even if we do some sin, if we're sincere, Krishna will protect us. So I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to ask if there are any comments or questions. Yes, Badri Narayan Maharaj.
I have a question. Thanks. And it's something we've been tussling with in class, because it comes up that this sinful activities, even if one's rightly situated, then even if he accidentally commits some sinful activity, and but here it describes that if one's chanting, one develops sufficient intelligence. So if I'm chanting and I develop sufficient intelligence, then how is it that I become overwhelmed by sinful activity? Where was the sufficient intelligence? If I'm chanting for a long time, in other words, because I was thinking about it, is there a time frame? How long can I assume, not that I'm making a plan, but how long can I assume that I'm covered by this, the accidental fall down? When does it become, hey, enough, buddy, grow up? Mm-hmm. When does it become sinful activity on the strength of chanting, as opposed to, well, my conditioning, somewhere or other I fell into illusion, it was accidental. So what is it, how long is that a measure? I don't know if I'm asking the question properly, but you can use as a skate,
Use it as a escape. Yeah.
And to skate around the thing, or as an excuse for so many things.
So how, like Prabhupada mentions in the purport of Pichetsu Duracharo, at the end he says one time, okay, but if you keep making the mistake again and again, you cannot be considered a high devotee. Prabhupada says that. So that's one measurement. How many times? How many times do we make that mistake? How many times do we fall into Maya? If it's one time, then we can say, okay, it could be, accidental. Right. If it's again and again, it's a different story. So that would be my short answer.
I remember Prabhupada saying in New Vrindavan, I'll forgive you once, I'll forgive you twice. Prabhupada said, third time I take off my shoe. And then the devotee said, but I thought the spiritual master was unlimitedly merciful. Prabhupada said, yes, but don't take advantage.
Okay.
So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Anything else? Yes, we have Vrindavan Prabhu, and then we have Dravida Prabhu first.
Just a quick comment. This important passage near the end of the purport, non-devotees may make a show of religion. But such persons are neglecting religious duty, even though they attend the temple. This is what the damba is. Damba, which is amanitvam, adambitvam, and in the qualities of the demons, that's like the first one, the second one, It's ostentatious, it's showing pride, right? But they're not really there to worship the Lord, but they want to look good. I always think of the mafia. They very carefully attend church. These guys are like the lowest of the low, but they go to church every. That's exactly what that is. Ostentatious observation, but there's no heart there. It's not very effective. They ostentatiously attend the temple. They're thinking of something else. They're thinking of something else. How good they look doing it. So that damba, we don't want to also be in that role of just looking good by attending and doing it, but really, our heart isn't in it. Then we're in
it for the wrong reason.
Yeah, in it for the wrong reason. So that's just something I was observing here. Because these are the non-devotees. The devotees, they're in it for the right reason, but through weakness they may commit an offense. They can forgiven if they're sincere. But as you say, the evidence of sincerity is that you really, really try to stop it and you pray, to be forgiven. Otherwise, it becomes.
Yeah, I remember growing up in Westchester County, New York, and my family went to a new synagogue, which was very opulent, and everyone was just flaunting their gold, and I felt it was just to see and be seen. Exactly. Everyone was just going there to see and be seen, and it really turned me off. I was really repulsed by it.
The church I went to, it was my family. It doesn't. Thanks, though. The sermon and the whole church thing was done in 45 minutes. And then they'd spend 2 hours with coffee and donuts. You know, and it was, you know, my thoughts were great for networking, you know. So, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's in every tradition.
That reminds me that a few years ago I read that the atheists are establishing churches, because this process of coming together and socializing, they're mixing out on everything. So they come together, they sing some, you know, atheist song, and they have coffee and donuts, and they read, you know, on Sunday. Like, which
in the atheist song. If you find it, let me know. Some Sangha. Everyone needs Sangha.
Yeah.
I have a quick comment, if that's okay.
I'm glad we have this Sangha. Yeah.
Well,
Hare Krishna, Maharaj. Can I make a comment?
Wait, who's this? Who's this on that?
that's my tray. But
Oh, okay, my tray.
Okay, my chair. Go ahead, yes.
A few days ago, Dimitri Prabhu asked about the art of offering obeisances. And it's not you just put your head down and it's finished, or like the art of apologizing. You have to have your heart into it. And it seems germane to this topic also. If you have, it's, Krishna mentions Kaushalam, the art of yoga in the Bhagavad Gita, yoga, which is the art of all work. So if you're doing that properly, really putting your heart into it, even if you slip up sometimes, the forgiveness comes because you're really sincere. Like if you offend somebody, but it's accidental and you apologize, okay, they forgive you. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, then eventually they realize, hey, you know, this isn't a sincere apology. So.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
And Krishna's a person, so he would feel the same way.
Hmm.
Come on. How many times? You're on the
Hare Krishna.
No.
Hare Krishna?
Hare-
We're going to let Vrindavan ask.
We're going to let Vrindavan ask a question now, and you can be next, okay?
Yes, I can wait, no problem.
Thank you. Please
You're
proceed.
welcome.
Hare Krishna. So, I participate in online forums a lot, and we discuss Abhijit a lot. So, what are the limits on that?
Well, look at Indra, okay? Indra, the demigod Indra, he attacked Vrindavan in the Govardhan Leela with his storm clouds. And what was his intention? He wanted to practically commit genocide. He wanted to wipe out thousands of people, murder thousands of people, thousands of cows, all the animals, all the plants, wipe out everyone. And then he apologized to Krishna after the Govardhan Leela. And then Krishna told him, okay, now go back to your post, continue what you're doing, but don't do it again. So apis chetsu duracharo, it can stretch very far. You know, this is like mass murderer kind of, that was his intention, genocide. So if we look at the Sanskrit, api chetsu duracharo, su duracharo. We talked about the word su before. Very much. Su duracharo. Duracharo means the most horrible, the most despicable, the most condemned action. And then su, to put su in front of that, it means the most horrible thing that one could do. Still, one is considered saintly if he's properly situated in his determination for devotional service. So based on this principle, I say, according to Shastra, it goes very far. That's my take on it. Would someone else like to comment? Bhadranarayan Maharaj.
Yeah, you know, we tend to think binary. Black or white, yes or no, up or down, in or out. We tend to think like that. We're conditioned to think like that. So, again, if I commit a sinful activity, you know, like one time, it's not that it's an excuse for repeated action, or it's not, you know, like Nixon, it wasn't the actual break-in, it was the cover-up that got him into trouble, you know? So it's when it's a plan, when it's prolonged, when it's repeated, that's when you really get into trouble, you know? And I've just seen devotees rationalize it one way or rationalize it the other way. So it's, you know, we're not, Prabhupada said, don't be dull-headed. We're supposed to be nuanced in our understanding of things. So I would just add that as a touch, because devotees will go one way or they'll go the other way.
Right. Thank you, Prabhu. We have a final comment from our devotee in aerospace. Yeah.
Yes, Maharaj. In the translation to the text you chose for today, we have that the chanters of the holy names may commit sinful activities because of mistake, bewilderment, and illusion.
Yes.
And yes, and Chanakya Pandit says that the worst enemy of a devotee is to get diseased, to become ill. So based on this, my question is it that to become ill, to become diseased, can make us commit mistakes, or can bewilder us, or can put us into illusion? To what measure a disease can cause this?
Okay, thank you for your question.
You're welcome, Maharaj.
If I understand your question properly, you're saying, can a material disease influence a devotee to commit sinful activities? Is that correct?
Exactly, Maharaj.
Yes, I'd say yes. That we have Adhyatmik Klesh, Adhibautik Klesh, Adhidaivik Klesh. Adhyatmik Klesh means miseries from the body and the mind. So, subject to these miseries of the body and the mind, one can be tormented to do so many things. Suicide or murder or so many horrible activities can be committed by someone with a mental disorder. So, someone who's on a very, very high platform of devotional service like Srila Prabhupada, I believe are beyond these material conceptions. Like Prabhupada is sitting on his bed in Vrindavan, his deathbed, and he's translating Bhagavatam. And the Kaviraj, he said that anyone in his condition, with just skin and bones, just by a touch on his body would be in excruciating pain. But Prabhupada was above all this. He was transcendental to this. He was translating Bhagavatam. He was allowing disciples to massage him and accepting service from them. So I believe when one comes to a very high platform of devotional service, one can transcend the material influence of the physical activities of diseases, this Adhyatmik Klesh. However, there's a very high platform, and most of us are, speaking for myself especially, I'd say are still subject to the influence of the modes of material nature and the material pangs of misery, this Adhyatmik Klesh. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Oh, Maharaj, as to be expected, very helpful, outstanding answer to my question. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, and thank you all for your kind association this morning. Thank you very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.